Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. You see, many people want success, but very few are willing to train their brain for it. Your brain is like a muscle. If you only give it easy work, it becomes lazy, weak, and comfortable. But if you force your brain to do the hard things, then one day, it will give you the power to do the impossible things. When I started Alibaba, we had no money, no technology, no experience. We only had brains and belief. And trust me, our brains were screaming, "This is too hard." But if you don't do the hard things today, you will regret it tomorrow, you know. People always ask me, "Jack, how do I become successful? How do I become strong?" And I tell them the secret is simple but not easy. You must train yourself to live with discomfort every single day. Most people wake up and immediately look for comfort. They want the soft bed, the easy job, the predictable life. But let me tell you, comfort is the enemy of growth. If you only do the things that feel good, your brain will never learn to handle the tough battles waiting for you in the future. Think about it. When I started Alibaba, we didn't have money, we didn't have investors, we didn't even have experience. Everything was uncomfortable. We worked from a small apartment, sometimes with no air conditioning, no proper chairs, just passion. It was not easy, but because we trained ourselves to live in that discomfort, later, when we faced competition, failures, and criticism, our brains were already used to the struggle. That's why we survived when others gave up. Training discomfort doesn't mean you have to suffer without reason. It means you choose the harder option on purpose to grow stronger. If it is easier to stay in bed, then force yourself to wake up earlier. If it is easier to avoid reading, then push yourself to read one more chapter. If it is easier to give up on an idea, then force yourself to take one more step. Every time you do this, you are sending a signal to your brain. I am in control, not you. And little by little, your brain becomes tougher, sharper, more reliable. The world doesn't reward the people who avoid pain. It rewards those who can manage pain. If you cannot train your brain to deal with discomfort, how can you handle rejection? How can you handle failure? How can you handle risk? Life is a marathon of discomfort. If you practice every day, when the big challenge comes, you will not collapse, you will smile and say, "I was waiting for this." When things go wrong in life, most people's first reaction is to ask, "Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why am I so unlucky?" This way of thinking is natural, but it is also dangerous because it makes you a victim of your own life. It gives your brain permission to complain instead of create. I have seen so many talented young people waste their best years asking, "Why me?" every time they face a challenge. But the truth is, life is not fair, and success never comes by waiting for fairness. When I was rejected from dozens of jobs, including KFC, I could have sat down and said, "Why me? Why does nobody want me? Why am I not good enough?" But instead, I asked a different question: why not me? Why can't I try to build something that nobody believes in? That small shift in mindset forced my brain to stop looking for excuses and start looking for solutions. When you ask, "Why not?" your brain begins to search for possibilities. It becomes creative, it becomes bold. You stop seeing the walls and you start noticing the doors. Every time you face difficulty, you have two choices: complain or challenge. If you ask, "Why me?" you will complain and your brain will shut down. But if you ask, "Why not?" you challenge yourself and your brain wakes up. It starts working harder, thinking differently, and pushing you forward. That is how innovations are born, how businesses are built, and how ordinary people do extraordinary things. So don't waste energy blaming the world for being unfair. Don't waste time comparing your struggles to others. Train your brain to ask the better question. When an opportunity looks too big, ask, "Why not me?" When a problem feels impossible, ask, "Why not us?" This attitude will make your brain fearless, And a fearless brain is the strongest tool you can ever own. Success is never built on one big heroic act. It is built on thousands of small, hard choices that nobody sees. Many young people dream of doing something great, something legendary, but they forget that greatness is only possible if you first learn to master the small, difficult things in your daily life. The small, hard things like waking up earlier than you want to, finishing a task even when you feel tired, reading a book instead of wasting hours online. These are the bricks that build the foundation of a strong mind. When I was young, my English was terrible, but I forced myself to do the small, hard thing every day: get up early, ride my bicycle to the hotel, and talk with foreigners for free. It was awkward, it was tiring, and it was not fun. But that small, hard thing gave me confidence, communication skills, and eventually the courage to dream internationally. Later, when it was time to build Alibaba, my brain was already trained to handle the bigger challenges, because I had practiced with the smaller ones for many years. The problem with most people is they want the big result without the small effort. They want the big success, but they avoid the small pain. But life doesn't work that way. If you cannot conquer yourself in little things, you will collapse when the big test comes. The small, hard things prepare your brain like weights in the gym. Every repetition makes you stronger. Every small victory convinces your brain, I can do this, I can go further. And one day, without even realizing, you are carrying a load that once looked impossible. So never underestimate the power of the small, hard things. They look boring, they look insignificant, but they are the secret training ground of champions. If you want to achieve something great, don't just wait for a big opportunity. Create discipline in little moments, because in the end, it is not the giant leap that makes you successful. It is the millions of small steps your brain forced you to take along the way. The people around you shape way your brain thinks, whether you realize it or not. If you spend your time with complainers, you will slowly become one of them. They always find excuses, they always blame others, and they always talk about why things cannot be done. Their words sound harmless, but they poison your brain. After enough time, you start believing that success is impossible, that risk is dangerous, that failure is shameful. You begin to shrink your dreams without even noticing. But when you surround yourself with fighters, everything changes. Fighters do not mean violent people. Fighters mean people who refuse to give up. They are the ones who see a problem and immediately start looking for a way forward. They don't waste time complaining. They focus on action. Their energy is contagious. When you spend time with them, your brain begins to mirror their strength. You start thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? When I was building Alibaba, many people told me, Jack, this idea will never work in China. You are wasting your time. If I had surrounded myself with those voices, I would have quit in the first year. But luckily, I had a small group of fighters. We had no money, no experience, but we shared one spirit: we would not quit. When one person felt weak, the others lifted him up. That is how we survived when thousands of other companies died. Not because we were the smartest, but because we were fighters together. Your brain is like a sponge. If it soaks in negative voices, it becomes heavy and weak. If it soaks in determination and courage, it becomes sharp and powerful. That is why you must be careful. Who are you spending your time with? Are they making your brain stronger, or are they making it weaker? Are they giving you energy, or are they draining it? If you want to go far, find people who fight for their dreams, who push through obstacles, who don't give up after the first failure. Stand with them, work with them, learn from them. Their fire will light your fire, their courage will train your courage. And in the hardest moments, when your brain wants to quit, the fighters around you will remind you that quitting is not an option. The truth about life is that the easy things are crowded. Everybody wants the shortcut. Everybody wants the quick win. Everybody wants the smooth road. That is why when you choose the easy path, you face the toughest competition. Millions of people are doing the same thing, fighting for the same small rewards, and in the end, most of them are left with nothing. But when you choose the hard path, suddenly the crowd disappears. Most people turn back when it becomes difficult, so the road may look empty and lonely. But that is exactly where the real opportunity lies. When I started Alibaba, the idea of building an internet company in China was crazy. Nobody believed it could work. People said, "Jack, the internet is for America, not for us." It was too hard, too uncertain, but that is why we had a chance. If it had been easy, the big companies would have done it already, and we would have been crushed. Because it was hard, nobody wanted to try, and that gave us space to grow. The harder it is, the fewer people are willing to compete, and the more room you have to build something valuable. Your brain must understand this. Difficulty is not your enemy. Difficulty is your advantage. When you face a hard problem, don't run away. Smile and think, good. This means fewer people will be here. This means I am closer to something big. Hardship is a filter. It separates those who are serious from those who are just dreaming. If you can train your brain to push through that filter, you will find yourself standing in a place where only a few have the courage to go, and that is where success is born. So the next time something feels too hard, don't complain, don't quit. Remind yourself that the very hardness of the task is your opportunity. Because while the world is busy chasing the easy things, you will be quietly building strength in the difficult ones. And when the result comes, people will look at you with surprise and say, "How did you do it?" The answer will be simple. You went where others refused to go. So, my friends, life will never get easier, but you can get stronger. Force your brain to do hard things, and one day, people will say, "How did you do it?" And you will smile because you know the brain you built is your biggest treasure. Thank you.